Welcome back. This is Under Oath. We're going to be talking deep dive into a hot topic plaguing the newsfeed right now, which is Luigi Mangione.
Friends, what do I always say?
Wrong segment.
Well, fuck me. Okay. You looked at me and I was like, okay, I'm going to...
Wrong segment.
Okay. We're moving on. Luigi.
Okay, Luigi Mangione.
Mm-hmm.
What did he allegedly do?
He allegedly murdered the CEO of United Healthcare.
Yeah. And so they were charging him with murder and in the first degree and second degree. And now his defense team is saying that he was suffering from extreme emotional disturbance.
Because? Do they say
they didn't really say why, I don't think. Did they, CJ?
No.
I mean,
and I'm just asking if they did say, because I wonder if not saying right now is a part of the strategy.
Well, I remember that he disappeared for a while and then his family didn't hear from him for 6 months. And then he showed up and allegedly
killed this guy.
Maybe there's something in those 6 months where they're going to claim, he went through brainwashing, or I don't know what it was, but basically this is what defense attorneys do, is they're trying to reduce the charges that have the lowest sentence. But the interesting thing about this is any sort of emotional disturbance or insanity plea, we call it an affirmative defense, which is such a stupid name for it, because it's how can you be affirmative and defensive? But you're basically saying, I did it, however, I had a good reason for it. Similar to the heat of the passion crimes.
Right.
So in this one, it would be, I was suffering from such extreme emotional disturbances. I should not be tried. I don't know why I'm doing this in first person. I should not be tried as someone who was in their right mind and had a mind that was well enough to hold the requisite mens rea to commit this crime and be tried as a person who was sane. So what I do know from law school is insanity pleas are really hard.
Are they?
They're really hard to win, because if it were even a slightly reduced standard you have to reach, everyone would be doing an insanity plea for everything.
Okay.
Parking ticket, whatever, everything. You would just be
okay.
I was crazy, therefore I can't.
I mean, but
what?
No.
Was it? Okay. But so there was this red notebook that they found at McDonald's, which is a big key part of the evidence in the prosecutor's case. And they're thinking that Luigi's defense won't hold up because of what was written in that red notebook was so cognizant, it was so put together that there was a quote. CJ, did you want to read the quote?
I finally feel confident about what I will do. The details are finally coming together.
That doesn't sound good.
But I mean, I'm sure his attorney's going to try and make a case of these are not the words of somebody who is in his right mind. Right. So even though this sounds really cognizant, but they're going to try, they have to earn their money somehow. Right.
And so basically, as this case is sort of coming together, what's happening is that behind the scenes, the prosecution is trying to pull together all their little bits of evidence that's allowed in. And defense is trying to anticipate how a jury is going to react to that and what their response is going to be. So there's something called taking the stinger out of the bee. This is a trial strategy that we use, where if you know something bad is going to come up, like the words written in the red notebook, for example, as a defense attorney, you would bring that up proactively in your opening statement, with a witness testimony, before the prosecution can talk about it. That way the jury doesn't think that you got surprised or that you're on your heels with this evidence. You bring it up beforehand. You anticipate it.
Right.
And it's called taking the stinger out of the bee. That way you've already socialized it with the jury. Oh, the red notebook, you're going to hear about this red notebook at trial.
Right.
And you're going to hear the prosecutor say this and read these words. And that way, when the prosecutor does it, it's yeah, we already heard that. We heard that joke.
We knew this was coming.
For us to be the most up to date, I just clicked on that NBC link that I had in the breakdown, and they're now reversing. They don't want to use this psychiatric defense anymore.
So they are scrambling to try and figure out what they're going to do for this kid, for this young man.
Oh, that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
That's not good.
But
because
I wonder,
every potential juror is reading that, right? Everyone who's going to be on the jury is going to be reading that.
But I wonder if what they are, in the end, what they're hoping for, Luigi's attorneys, is that there will be enough people on a jury who have been absolutely screwed by a health insurance company Now, being clear, just because you've been screwed doesn't mean that you're allowed to go and allegedly kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if they're really kind of hoping that people will say, you know what, either I or somebody that I know did not get the treatment that they deserved, or like, you know, lost their home or whatever it is, right? I mean, I think a lot of people can talk about a bad experience that they've had, and will say, you know what, maybe this guy was pushed to the breaking point, and that's why he allegedly did this thing. Because all signs point to him probably having done this, right?
I hear what you're saying about juries. He's going to lose. That's my hot take. He's going to lose this case.
Sure.
And I know that, you know, a lot of people on the internet have his back, and a lot of people are going to comment on this clip and say, but this is not a winning case.
Right.
This is not. And even if there is that one person on the jury, juries are so unpredictable. I just don't think people understand sometimes how unpredictable jurors are, and how much of like an intersection of the world is represented in the juries.
Oh, for sure.
And how much of like just your and my social life is 1/100th of society's frame of mind. So when we're talking about, 12 people, half of them are going to have similar ideas and thoughts as you and me.
Not necessarily.
No. You'll be lucky if there's one person on there who comes from a similar walk of life as you, even if you're from the same community. So I feel like looking at how this is going to shake out, if they're betting on a juror, if their defense strategy is, let's bet that someone on the jury has a negative experience with a healthcare provider or is frustrated by that and is going to hang up this entire jury. That's a last ditch attempt.
Sure.
But I agree with you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. Like that would be something that Michael, the non-lawyer watching this on TV, be like, oh yeah, I would think that would happen. But knowing what I've seen, jurors come out of that room and they say, oh yeah, we convicted because, and then they say something that nobody thought about. Trial.
Yeah, right.
And we're like, huh? Or they're like, oh, Michael, you were writing really fast, so we assumed he was guilty. You were scribbling furiously during that testimony. And I'm like, yeah, I'm taking notes because I'm about to eat this witness up. Not because I was worried. I was taking down notes of everything I was going to gobble them up with.
Right.
They interpret it as, so it's one of these things where you just have no idea what's going to go down. But they did get a lot of the evidence thrown out in this case. That's another way to win a case like this, is preemptory hearings. So getting evidence thrown out. I think they got his statements that he made to the police officers in the McDonald's. Those were thrown out because he wasn't Mirandized. They knew who he was. He was under arrest. They never Mirandized him. And then the statements he made, they threw those out. I think the backpack, I don't know if that's going to be allowed into evidence.
They're trying to argue now that the red notebook was an illegal seizure, which is, I think, part of the reason why they're doing this reversal.
So basically, there's this concept called the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, which is that if the search was not in compliance with the Fourth Amendment, which is unlawful search and seizures, anything, even if they get the bloody knife, murder weapon with the prints and the blood on it, anything from that illegal search is not admissible in court. And you have to try the entire case as if it doesn't exist. So the prosecutor can't bring it up. That's a mistrial. Defense can reference it in their, whatever. No one can talk about it at trial. And so that's how you would kind of win one of these cases in these preemptive meetings.
What do you think the hope is for this guy? Like what is the best case scenario for him? Because I can't imagine that this is somebody who's going to get off scot-free, right? I cannot imagine that. So barring getting off scot-free,
20 years.
20 years.
20 years in prison. I think that's what...
Like best case scenario for him.
I think so. I think just like being honest with the evidence and the facts of this case, I think he's going to get 20 years in prison.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe life. Yeah. Because there's video footage of him. He was waiting. There was mens rea. There was intent. They have to prove the intent though. They have to prove the forethought. So that'll be something if the red notebook is getting thrown out, if there's no manifesto or anything like that, that'll be hard for a prosecution to kind of pin down hard evidence. But video surveillance footage of if they confirm that and they get everything into evidence, it's really hard to get around that kind of stuff with a jury.
Sure.
Yeah.
No.
Jurors are very much, it's a visual medium.
Right.
You know,
no,
you show
I
them
can see that. And once and regardless of what you feel about the person who was killed, right? Yeah. But if there is evidence in front of you, there's a video, there's all, then you can't help but be like, okay.
If there is video evidence in a case, it almost always doesn't go forward. It's almost always plea deal. In my experience, whenever there's a video, that is the first thing we're going to
So what could they plea him down to?
They could plea him down to like 2nd-degree murder, probably.
Okay, which is usually a sentence of...
It's like, but the prosecution would have to be open to that. If they've got great evidence, they're like, let's get the conviction. Let's go forward. That's like their perspective.
Okay.
But I've really only seen these kinds of cases go forward where the defense is saying no to a plea deal when the video evidence doesn't get admitted or it's corrupted or lost or damaged or whatever.
Okay.
There just didn't exist in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, it's soon. The trial's in a couple months. So
yeah, I mean, we've been waiting a while though, you know what I mean?
We could like watch that. If you guys want, we could do like a separate coverage of this or something. Like
I think we should.
Series.
Yeah.
It's like right here in New York.
Yeah.
I go to that courthouse all the time.
You're just going to sit there and watch it?
Yeah, and then just like
but it's going to be really hard to. How many people do you think are going to want to? It's like the people who they were like practically selling tickets for Diddy's trial. Do you know what I mean? I
feel like I know a guy.
You do. I feel
like I know a bailiff who could get me in.
Okay.
I do.
No. I mean, do you know where it's taking place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was kikiing with the bailiffs the other day. It was really bad. Like out in the hallway, we were like giggling.
So. What's wrong with that?
It was great. It was actually kind of great.
I have a question for you on the Luigi stuff, but it's not necessarily specific to this. So his defense team they requested that some of his statements that he made be cut from the record, claiming that he had not yet been read his Miranda rights before being interrogated. How is that possible when the NYPD had, this is like a manhunt, like how do they not read him his Miranda rights?
So he wasn't Mirandized because he was found in Pennsylvania in like a rural town. And these were like the local police officers from like Scranton, Pennsylvania or something. But no, this is not like a good defense of them.
Okay.
But from my perspective, I'm like, those officers were not very experienced because they should have Mirandized him right away. They should have arrested him. This is not me. I'm not letting police officers off scot-free.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, but it seems to me as it's literally, I am not a police officer and I have seen enough SVU to know.
I think they were
I don't, even if it's your first day on the fucking job. No.
They're like, wait a minute. Is this the guy from the TV? Is this the guy?
No.
Yeah. It's really bad.
That's really, really bad. So they were so excited to see him that they forgot to do their job.
And also with Luigi's trial, there was some weird shit where like the body cams turned on and off a couple times. And then it was like, there was something, they put some evidence in a McDonald's bag.
My God.
I'm serious. And then one officer had it in a McDonald's bag. They were driving it to the precinct separate from Luigi. And the body cam was on, and then it went off again, and the bag was gone, and it was back with Luigi, and like the cop turned around and went back, and like the phone record showed that they were called, like the officers called each other a bunch. There was some weird stuff going on, like the Karen Reed trial. Do you remember this? Like there was some sort of weird cop phone record and body cam inconsistencies with Luigi's arrest.
Let me ask you something, just not about Luigi necessarily, but when a police officer has a body cam, it's supposed to be on all the time, right?
Yes.
So when it is not on and then it comes back on, is there a reason ever? Like, what is your recourse as a defense attorney?
Right. What I do is I use it as part of my defense. Is like, hello, this was suspiciously and randomly turned off. Like at the key crucial moment when the alleged issue occurred, whether it was an assault or whatever. So that is how I use it, because you can use the absence to sow doubt with a judge or a jury. So that's how I use it.
Okay.
Officers claim wardrobe malfunction, right? They give the Janet Jackson. They say, oh, it stopped working randomly at the crucial moment that we needed. And it
came back on all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, yes. And it's the same with dash cam footage. Like that is like very much socialized.
And but I'm just curious, does that work? Is that working?
It's working to keep them personally free of liability.
Okay.
It's not necessarily working to like in the criminal proceedings for that defendant.
I just wonder, as a police officer, if you do that multiple times, I mean, that's not really good job security. I mean, because you're making the same mistake over and over again, and people are, and I don't know, because of it, people are getting off or they're having to pay.
Yeah. I unfortunately think people are getting away with it for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
I told you about that trial where all the evidence was deleted from the police phones. They like turned them in and then factory reset them. Okay. There was all this evidence on the phones.
So what happened?
We went to trial. We were like, there's no evidence. We only have witness testimony.
Okay.
So we got to go off that.
This was your case?
Yeah.
Are you able to say, did it go?
I don't want to get into it.
Okay.
But
I just don't even understand how, it's like
blue. Sorry. My ADHD. This bottle's blue.
It's like, what's going on in the home?
Is what it feels
like. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is going on?
What's happening in the precinct?
What's happening? Who's in charge? The whole thing just reeks of such corruption.
Yes.
And we know that that's true, but it's obvious to the point it's stupid.
Well, I think criminal defense attorneys have always sort of been on the front lines of witnessing and going up against police corruption. I think that's tale as old as time. Like my law professors were telling us stories from the 70s, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, all these cases that you heard about Miranda rights, there was a Mr. Miranda.
No, I know.
Like,
right.
There was a person that had to have rights so violated that it then went to court to trial all the way up.
And they named it after him.
And they named it after that person, right?
Yeah.
Is this like an attractive case to a defense attorney because there's so many like missteps?
In the Luigi trial?
Yeah. Or is it like something you want to stay away from because you don't want to get a loss on your record?
If this case weren't so high profile with Luigi and I saw all these errors and this was crossing my desk, I'd be like, this is a normal number of errors in evidence, chain of custody, in Miranda rights violations. This wouldn't keep me up at night with the rights violations. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Would you take it?
I always decide cases based off, can I actually help here? Is there work that I can do where my skills would actually help this person? It would depend on like the time in my life. That's a huge time commitment.
Sure.
Really expensive case. To say yes to a case like that, the Luigi of it aside. Like if no one knew who this was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This person's coming to you and saying, will you defend me? We're going to be working together for the next 4 years.
Okay.
Right? Like that's so long. And that's with no appeal if we lose, right?
Okay.
So there's just so much that's going to go into that. For me to take a case like that, it would have to be 4 years salary. That's going to be majority of my time going into that case, you know? That's without the public profile thing. But I do think a lawyer taking that case right now with the public profile stuff, that'll make your career. You can hang your hat.
Or break it.
You get so much exposure from a trial like that.
What if you really...
I mean, if you beef it, sure. Yes,
you bungle it.
Absolutely. But if you do a decent job, you've got a lot of press conferences. You're getting a lot of camera time. Yeah, I think a lot of lawyers would jump at that case.
I wonder who's paying them. Does Luigi have any money?
I think he does, right? I don't know who's paying them.
I always wonder that.
Yeah.
I always wonder who's paying, like, especially if it's, you know.
A lot of people go into debt.
No, I know. Yeah. But you also can't get blood from a rock, right? So if I only have $100 and your fee is $200, I'm out of luck, right?
Yeah.
So, like everything else, if you do not have the resources at your disposal, does that mean that you are not going to get a defense that you deserve? Yes.
Well, I love the public defender offices, but I also think like,
their time,
yes, of course,
and the resources, and
investigator hours,
right, exactly.
Yeah. I also think a lot about a case like this. Mm-hmm. I live in an echo chamber. I've admitted this so many times. Mm-hmm. So many people in my little internet world are not condemning Luigi's behavior. I think is maybe like the nicest way I'll put it.
Yeah.
The most palatable way to put it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this person's a martyrdom of Luigi.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what I'm not hearing outside that echo chamber. What is the conversation about Luigi in an everyday American home that isn't my home?
I mean, I've heard some, and it's all the things that you would expect to hear, right?
Is it pro United Healthcare? Is it?
It's not pro United. I have not heard that. I have not heard pro United Healthcare. I've heard more like this feels like a very sort of liberal person thing to do.
There's a right way to do things.
There's a right way and a wrong way to do this. Which I understand, you are not permitted to decide to
You're not
off
judge,
somebody.
Jury, and executioner.
You're not supposed to do things like that. I've heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
I have not heard anything about pro United Healthcare though.
Yeah.
I mean, who? No. But we're not. We're not saying it's okay to kill somebody who works for this organization.
But no one's like, oh, they approved my claim so fast. Loved. What do you mean?
Right.
She had an issue with this deductible?
I've never had a problem.
Right.
They approved my sleep study. They didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Still up at night. No.
I'm still walking the floors at night. Because they won't pay for my sleep study.
God damn it.
But do you know what I'm saying? And and health insurance companies are notorious for doing things like this. And I know I talk about my weight loss surgery a lot, but it was a big thing that happened to me. But they were willing to pay, my health insurance company was willing to pay for my surgery.
Yeah.
But none of the fallout from it, right? So after you've lost all that weight, there's all this skin.
Yeah.
That is considered cosmetic, right? If you lose a tooth, right, then it's in the back. To get that replaced, cosmetic. Do you see what I'm saying?
Why'd you lose a tooth in weight loss surgery?
Not me.
Oh.
I'm talking about all the things that could happen to a person, right?
Like, oh my God, your teeth are falling out?
No. There are all these things that can happen to somebody if you get into an accident and you have a scar. They stitch up the scar, but the scar itself, if you want to get that fixed, that is cosmetic, right? Never mind that you don't want to be somebody with a big scar on your face. How traumatizing that could be, right? Why is mental health so hard to come by?
Yeah.
Why do you only get 5 sessions a year or whatever it is, or your PT?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, I needed PT so bad. I paid for that shit out of pocket for so long. And it was worth it for me and I could afford it.
Right.
But let me tell you, it was like the only thing that helped me after I busted my feet and was in those boots and crutches, back blown out from crutching around America, biking in an orthopedic boot to the courthouse.
I don't know that you should have been doing that. I couldn't
do the kick line anymore for the Rockettes.
No, I understand.
And they said, sir,
yes,
please stop coming to Radio City Music Hall.
You don't work here.
We don't work. I said,
we don't know you.
Please stop auditioning. You're too old.
You don't go here.
We can hear your hip clicking during the kick line.
But I'm just saying though, honestly, it's stuff. Get a hold of yourself.
So fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
But that's what I'm saying though. Yeah. It is, there are things that you need. Like I told you, I reached out to this guy, but he, that social worker I told you guys about, whose job it is that he's sort of fighting with the insurance companies.
Oh my God.
And it's horrible.
Yes.
This is something, this person has cancer. Everyone says that they have cancer. They need this treatment.
In a hospital bed trying to call to get their things approved before they die.
And they're saying no because we needed to be worded this exact. Meanwhile, this person is dying.
Yeah.
So I have not heard anyone who is pro health insurance company.
I'm being nicer to Brad now because I'm on his insurance.
Yeah, you better.
I'm doing the dishes. I'm taking the trash out. You better do the dishes. I'm like...
You better cook all the meals.
Shit. Yeah.
Be nice.
I'm like, can you send me that claim form, sweetie?
Honey?
Like, come hither, look.
I'll do that thing that you like.
My mother-in-law listens to the show. Let's take a break.
She knows what you guys do.